Welcome to the T&T Honda podcast. Whether you're buying a new or used vehicle, servicing and maintaining your current vehicle, or following the latest trends in the auto industry, T&T Honda is steering you straight. Thanks for listening, and let's get on with the show. Today on the T&T Honda podcast, we're talking about purchasing a used vehicle, and we're going to look at some of the things you should check when you're buying a used vehicle, what you should look for on your test drive, questions you can ask. Navroz, where does one start when buying a used vehicle?
Typically, it depends on the use of the vehicle. So similar to when we talked about a new car, is you want to look at the use of the vehicle, how it's going to be driven. Are you putting lots of stuff in it? Are you putting lots of people in it? To come up with the style of vehicle you're looking for. Then based on that, that will give you some direction and of course your budget, what kind of car you're looking at. Nowadays, most vehicles are listed online. Mm-hmm. So even if you just type in a Google search that I'm looking for a used car in Calgary, you'll see hundreds of thousands of listings come up. So that's where a lot of people start their search. But by the time they actually figure out, okay, I've got it shortlisted down to these 1, 2, or 3 different types of cars, then they can start to look specifically at those. So it starts off in a very similar fashion like it would for a new vehicle. So what I would suggest at that point as well, let's say, for example, you've decided that you wanted to get into a 3-year-old CRV, right? So you've looked around and you found a few online that kind of look good. As you're going around online, you're also getting a sense of what people are asking, what the average mileage is. So you're starting to pick up all these little bits of information, knowing a van, is it a truck? Now, most people I would suspect kind of have an idea of what, like it's way too expensive, right? Or my goodness, this one has so much mileage. So just to give some averages, roughly what we say is around 20 to 25,000 kilometers per year is average. Okay. So if you're looking at a 3-year-old car, you would expect somewhere around 60 to 75,000 kilometers on that vehicle. Okay. So if it's less than that, that would be considered a low mileage car. Right. If it's more than that, then of course it's considered a high mileage car. Mm-hmm. And one of the main factors that influences how much a vehicle will go for is mileage.
Right.
Right. So that would be one thing definitely to keep in mind. And a lot of people have a sense of, if I'm buying a used car, I don't want it to be more than X number of kilometers, right? So that is, for a lot of people, a factor. The next thing then, of course, is, has it been involved in any accidents or anything like that? A lot of this can also be done online. So for example, on our website with our used car listings, there's a little logo there that says Carfax Report. So for those who are not familiar with what Carfax is, let me back up a step actually. One of the key things when you're buying a used vehicle, one of the hesitations is, I don't know about this car. I don't know the history. I don't know what kind of life this vehicle has had before me. So we try and alleviate those things by giving customers information. Mm-hmm. And one of those key pieces of information is the Carfax Vehicle History Report. Right. It tells a customer what has the life of this vehicle been like when it comes to where has it been registered? How has it been serviced? Does it have any recalls? Does it have any accident claims on it? Was there any insurance claims on it? Was there any police reports on it? Is it an imported vehicle either from overseas or the States? Mm-hmm. So all of these things are listed on the Carfax report. It's a very extensive report.
Now, T&T Honda offers what's called certified used vehicles?
Yes, we actually have 3 styles of vehicle. Okay. So let me just quickly walk you through that. So we have our value vehicles. So these are typically your more budget-friendly cars. They are typically older, typically with more mileage on it, usually under that, $15,000 range. Right. So a lot of these could be second cars or student cars, those kinds of things. So there's a huge demand for these cheaper vehicles out there. So they may not be the prettiest. They may not have the lowest mileage on them. But what we do is we figure out that mechanically, these are sound vehicles. So as long as they're roadworthy, we will make them available for sale for customers as a value vehicle. So we'll give them a report on the vehicle. We do a 34-point inspection on it just to make sure that all the safety features and control features on the vehicle are operational. We'll provide that to the consumer. As well, we'll give them the assurance with the value vehicle that if for whatever reason they're not comfortable with that particular vehicle, they have 3 days to live with it. Right. So we have a 3-day, 300-kilometer exchange program on those value vehicles. So if for whatever reason they decide that, no, this was not the right one, they can come in and exchange it for something different.
That's great.
So that's the first level of vehicle. The next one is our used cars or quality used vehicles. This is basically anything else. Usually it's a non-Honda, or it could be a Honda with a little bit more mileage or a little bit older. These form the bulk of our vehicles. They go through a thorough 178-point safety inspection. So that is extremely thorough. We
Yeah.
make sure that the report is given to the consumer before they buy the vehicle, that look, this is how we got the car, this is what we did to it. So quick example, let's say a car came in and it had a broken windshield and it had bald tires and
Right.
it needed a brake service. So we did all of that work. We show that to the consumer that, look, this is what we've done. The idea behind buying a car like this is that you're going to get into a vehicle. You're not going to spend tons and tons of money on maintenance down the road right away immediately, right? We brought everything up to date.
Nice.
And then, of course, they have the Carfax report that they can look at to see what the history was. And then we have our, let's call it our top level of vehicle, which is our certified pre-owned Hondas.
Okay.
So with this is a factory sponsored program. So Honda Canada actually helps us with this program. Honda Canada puts together a very stringent list of guidelines that have to be there. The vehicle has to qualify. Mm-hmm. Not every vehicle can be a certified used Honda. So appearance-wise, cosmetically, mechanically, so many different things have to meet those particular guidelines for it to be eligible for certification. So the certified vehicles do carry a bit of a premium price because they go through way more stringent mechanical and cosmetic inspection.
Right.
As well, it comes with this with a few other things. Number one, we have a 7-day, 1,000-kilometer exchange privilege on these. So a customer gets to live with this car for a week, and if they decide it's not quite the right one for them, they can bring it back and exchange it. Secondly, there's also a top-up on the warranty, and this is huge. The normal factory warranty, the powertrain, is for 5 years, 100,000. So what we do is, with a certified vehicle, that goes all the way up to 7 years, 160.
Oh, wow. So
what that means is, if it's a 3-year-old car, it's still got roughly 4 years worth of factory warranty left on it, and up to 160,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. Powertrain warranty, just to quickly explain, that's the 3 major components of the vehicle. So that's the engine, the transmission, and the drive system. So whether it's a front wheel drive vehicle or an all-wheel drive vehicle. So those 3 major components are covered under the certified warranty. So those are some, in my mind, some huge features to give you that sense of security and safety when you're buying a used car. So certified vehicles, yeah, you do pay a little bit of a premium for it, but there's great value there.
And is the buying process the same as when you'd buy a new car? You sit down with the financing and all of that stuff. How does the buying process work?
Yeah, the process is exactly the same. So once we determine that this is a car for you, we figure out pricing. If there was any accessories that the customer wanted, they would then go see the finance office, and the finance manager would then make sure everything is in place for them to pick up the car a few days later.
Perfect.
One thing when it comes to used vehicles is there is so many different options for where a customer can buy a used car. Mm-hmm. You can get it privately from somebody.
Yes.
You can go to a dealership like us, okay? Or you can go to, we'll call them non-dealership used car lots.
Right.
So there's lots of them around where basically somebody has just decided to set up shop and sell used cars. So let's quickly talk about the pros and cons of each.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with a private individual, number one, it's very much buyer beware when it comes to that. The private individual has no obligation to tell you anything. It's all up to you to figure out. So do they have to provide you with a Carfax report? No. Do they have to provide you with the service record? No. So the idea behind buying privately is, I'm going to get a better deal. So that's why people go towards that, because they think they can get a better deal. Sometimes that's true, right? But it is definitely, the onus is on the purchaser to make sure that they have done their research. So if you are going to be looking at a private sale, some suggestions. Number one, once you determine that you found a car that you're interested in, ask to see the registration of the previous owner. On the registration, there's a status. That status should be normal or active. If it says anything like repaired, rebuilt, salvage, stay away.
Yeah. So
for a lot of people, if they're not familiar, they might say a repaired vehicle. That's good, right? It's good. It's repaired. No, but what repaired means is that this vehicle was involved in an accident to a level such that the insurance company decided that they don't want to fix it. There was so much damage on that vehicle that they wrote off the car. then somebody bought that vehicle, maybe a local mechanic or something like that who had some skills, put it back together, had it recertified, and put it back on the road to sell. As soon as that happens, when they do the recertification, it goes into that repaired or rebuilt status.
Right.
So, sometimes you see those cars going down the road where the front end and the back end don't quite line up. That's a repaired vehicle. Okay. So that has, those are kinds of things that I would stay away from.
Right.
So definitely make sure that you see a copy of that person's registration. And if they don't want to show you, walk away.
Right.
Right. You should be willing to do that. Secondly, run your own Carfax report. You can go online and do that. Get a full report. Don't just get a lien record.
Right.
There's various different flavors of that. Go with a full report that gives you the accident and insurance claims history, because you want to see what this vehicle has gone through. Yeah. Also, I would highly, highly recommend an inspection from a trusted mechanic. So there's various different places out there that offer these. And again, if that private seller is not willing to do that, walk away.
Right.
Right. So a lot of the onus is on that customer who is looking at that private sale. You got to do all the legwork. You got to put in the money for the Carfax report. You have to pay for that mechanical inspection. And if you decide not to get the vehicle, well, that's your out-of-pocket expense to do your research. So yeah, just make sure that you're diligent about all those. If it's a Honda, we do offer pre-purchase inspections here. So if there is somebody who's interested in a private sale and it's a Honda product, we're happy to help with that. We would need the car for about a half a day. An appointment is required. We put the car up on a hoist. We do a visual inspection of all of the safety components of the vehicle and provide whoever is paying for that report a written report saying that, okay, all this stuff looks good. These are some things that might need some attention. And these are definite things that you want to fix before you get this car back on the road.
That's fantastic.
Right? And that gives you a budget of what you're expecting to spend on the vehicle. So it's fine when you're given a list of things that the vehicle needs. You just have to factor that into your overall purchase decision and try and negotiate that in with that private seller, if that's really the car for you. So that's, I would say, the first level of vehicles that are available for used cars is the private sale. Then we have these independent used car operations. Think about, where does an independent used car operation get their vehicles from? We as a dealership typically have first crack at any car that goes through auctions or trade-ins or whatnot. So the stuff that we don't take ends up at these secondary auctions. Right. And they are the ones that these independent local shops usually pick up, or their rental vehicles and so on. So they're not necessarily the cream of the crop vehicles. Secondly, what happens with those is we have very strict standards when it comes to what we require on the mechanical inspections.
Right.
I'm not sure what their standards are. Some of them may be excellent.
Yeah.
Others may just be, okay, we'll do an oil change, clean it up and put it on the lot and make it look good.
Magic tree, done.
Exactly, right? So it very much depends on what that particular location and business's philosophy is on that. So that would be the next level. So again, there is a fair bit of buyer beware there, but there's maybe a little bit more certainty there because there is somebody, a physical location that you can go back to and say, hey, this didn't quite work out the way I expected it to. Okay. And then in my mind, there's the top level, which is the dealerships, which is us, right? Number one, we're government regulated. We're AMVIC regulated, which is the Alberta Motor Vehicle Industry Council. So we're all members of that. So there's lots of oversight when it comes to dealing with a franchise location. Also, there's the reputation of the dealership itself. Check out that operation with regards to their Google review. See what other people are saying about it. Was it a good experience? Where, things are going to happen, Emma, right? So if there are things that happen, how do they deal with that? Do they own up? Do they help out the customer? Or do they just say, oh, too bad you bought it. It's a used car. You're on your own. Right? So those are the kinds of things you want to look at. So not only is it the vehicle that you're looking at, it's where you're buying it from and what that after purchase experience is going to look like.
Right. And that's huge, the after purchase experience. That's exactly it. You don't want to feel like you've invested so much money and you've built this relationship, I'm using air quotes, with the dealership or with the person that you bought, and then it's just you give them the money and that's the end of it, which is what I love about the dealership element, is that there is the after purchase relationship. You're not just thanks for the money and off you go.
Right. So when you think about it from that point of view, the way we see it is number one, we help the customer get into a vehicle that works for them. But more importantly than that, we're trying to build that relationship with this customer so they will come back for their future purchases.
Yes.
They'll refer their friends and family to us. So we really want to make sure that we're looking after them and their needs in today's transactions with an eye towards future relationships being built.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the T&T Honda podcast. We'll be back with lots more for you very soon. If you've enjoyed this episode, please feel free to like, share, and of course subscribe to keep up to date with everything that's going on. In the meantime, check out tnthonda.com and we'll be back with another episode very soon.
'Cause T&T Honda steering you straight.